Okay, so hello everyone. In this video lesson for today, I'm going to discuss about proportions and applying the fundamental theorems of proportionality to solve problems involving proportions. The objectives of our video lesson for today are the following. First is we're going to describe a proportion. Then the second one is apply the fundamental theorems of proportionality to solve problems involving proportions. Magsugod sa ta sa definition sa proportion. So a proportion is a statement of equality between two ratios. Okay? Kani siya nga topic na apan ninyo pag grade 5 or pag grade 6 about the ratio and proportion. So it is assumed nga kay bawo na mo ana. Okay? So let's have mo na siya nga nag-review sa ta sa usay meaning sa proportion. So again, as by definition, ang proportion is a statement of equality between two ratios. Then the fundamental law of proportion states that the product of the means equals the product of the extremes. Okay? It can be written in two ways, as two equal fractions, A over B equals C over D, or using a colon, A is to B equals C is to D. The inner terms B and C are called means or are called the means, and the outer are called the extremes, kanang A and B. So kanang A and B, that is what we call the ratio. Okay, ratio na siya. So that is comparing two quantities. Mo na siya ang definition sa ratio, comparing two quantities. A is to B and C is to D, so this is also called the ratio. Kanang A is to B equals C is to D, mo nang gitawag nato nga proportion. Okay? So proportion. Mo na siyang gitawag nga proportion. So again, kanang A is to B, that is what we call the ratio. C is to D, that is also what we call the ratio. Then equality of two ratio such as A is to B equals C is to D, mo nang gitawag na to nga proportion. Okay? Kanang means, so kanang means mo na siya ang part sa proportion wherein that is found at the inner terms. Okay? Or na siya sa sulod or sa middle. So kanang B and C mo na ang means, while the A and D which are found outside sa proportion, so mo na siya ang extremes. Okay, so mo na siya ang definition sa proportion, then also mga parts sa proportion, then ako na nang gikuan kung unsay meaning sa ratio. Okay, the following proportion is read as 20 is to 25 as 4 is to 5. So mo ni siya. Again, ang pagbasaan niya is 20 is to 25 as 4 is to 5. So kanang 20 over 25, so mo na ang basa niya is 20 is to 25. As kanang equals, kaning equal sign ang basa niya as. Then 4 over 5 read as 4 is to 5. Okay, mo na ang basa niya 20 is to 25 as 4 is to 5. Then if we're going to change that one to colon form, so mo na ni siya 20, then with colon with colon, no, then we're going to form that one into colon form. So mo ni 20 is to 25, then mag equals ka, then 4 is to 5. Ang pagbasa sa proportion in colon is just the same sa fraction. Okay? So ang basa gyapon niya is 20 is to 25 as 4 is to 5. Okay? So to prove that two ratios form a proportion, you must prove that they are equivalent or they are equal. To do this, you must demonstrate that the relationship between numerators is just the same as the relationship between denominators. Okay? So, how are we going to prove that 20 is to 25 as 4 is to 5 forms the proportion. Okay? Sige. I will write again 20 is to 25. So, in fraction form. Then, equals 4 over 5 or 4 is to 5. So, how are we going to prove that these two ratios forms a proportion? Okay? So, we're going to use the cross multiplication method. So, multiply na to ang 20 og 5 and 25 og 4. Make sure nga to prove na ang duha ka ratios kay proportion, dapat kung unsay product sa 20 og 5 parehas pud sa 25 og 4. Unless kung di sila parehas og product, it means these two ratios are not proportions. Okay? So let's start with 20 times 5. So ana na siya, 20 times 5 equals 25 times 4. Then you're going to multiply 20 times 5. Okay? So 20 multiplied by 5, so that is 100. Then also 25 times 4, so 5 times 4 is 20, 0, carry 1. Not there, carry 1, carry 2 di ay kay 20 man. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So parehas. Okay? So therefore 20 is to 25 as 4 is to 5 are two ratios that forms proportions. Or simply, this 20 is to 25 as 4 is to 5 forms a proportion. Okay? Okay, so let's tackle some examples. So let's start with the example number 1. Determine whether each pair of ratios forms a proportion. Let's start with letter A. 4 is to 12 equals 6 is to 3. This can also be written as 4 over 2 equals 6 over 3. Or, ang basaan niya, no? Ang proper way sa pagbasa niya, mapa column form or fraction form is 4 is to 2 as 6 is to 3. Okay? So, we're going to determine kung ang ratios ba, ang duha ka ratios ba nag-form ba siya of proportion. Sige, let's discuss the solution for letter A. A proportion is an equality of two ratios. So balik ta sa definition sa proportion. Ang proportion, equality of two ratios. Okay? Or they have the same products. Okay? Katong gidiscuss na ko ganiha, so mo to siya. Okay? Katong sa kani. Dapat pareha silang products to determine that they are proportions. Okay, next. The product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. Okay? So, the product of the means, okay, this is the mean, then is equal to the product of the extremes. So, E na siya. Ang M is the mean, E is the extreme. Okay? So, the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. If they are equal to each other, it means that the ratio is a proportion. Okay. So, let's prove that they are proportion. No? They are proportionate to each other, or they are, or the ratio, the two ratios are proportion to each other. Okay? Sige. Let's start with 4 is to 2. Then equals 6 is to 3. So this is the mean. You're going to multiply that one. 2 times 6 is 12. And then kani 4 og 3. So you multiply nimo. 4 times 3 is also 12. Or you can have this one. So mo ni siyang solution. So 2 times 6 equals 4 times 3. So therefore 12 is equal to 12, or 12 equals 12. Then this is a true statement. Therefore the pair of ratios form a proportion. Okay? So kaning duha ka ratio, kaning 4 is to 2 ug 6 is to 3 forms a proportion. because the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. Okay? Next, let's have the letter B. 2 is to 5 equals 3 is to 8. Or if you're going to read this one in a proper way, that is 2 is to 5 as 3 is to 8. Is this pair of ratios forms a proportion? So let's find out. So a solution, a proportion is an equality of two ratios. So muna siya. Then the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. But unfortunately, this is a false statement. Okay? Nga naman, if you're going to multiply 5 and 3, which are the means, so that is equals 15. If you're going to multiply 2 and 8, which are the extremes, that is equals 16. Then to make it proportion, or to make it prove that these two ratios are proportion, dapat ang means, ang product sa means parehas sa product sa extremes. But again, unfortunately, they don't have the same product. Ang usa ang means 15, ang extremes kay 16. Therefore, this is a false statement. Hence, the two ratios do not form a proportion. Okay, so let's go now to the properties of proportion. So the first one is the cross multiplication property. It states that in a proportion, the cross products are equal. So mo ni siya ang pinaka-common nga methods, no, nga gamiton sa proportion in order to prove that these two ratios are proportion to each other. Okay? And also, it is the very commonly used to find the unknown variable or the unknown value of the missing parts sa proportion. Okay, so later on ato na siyang i-discuss. So let's have the example for number 1. 6 is to 8 as 3 is to 4. Or if you're going to read that one in layman's term, or sa ato ang kuan, to ang own understanding, but in a mathematical way, that is 6 over 8 equals 3 is 3 over 4. So let's cross multiply, no? I-multiply ang 6 og 4, i-multiply ang 8 og 3. So mo na siya, nahimo siyang 6 times 4 equals 8 times 3. Then their products are both 24 because 6 times 4 is 24. 8 times 3 is also 24. So that is the property number 1. That is what we call the cross multiplication property. Then number 2, what we call the alternation property. In a proportion, the means or the extremes may be interchange. So sige, balik sa ta diri sa 6 over 8 equals 3 over 4, or 6 is to 8 as 3 is to 4. If you're going to change that one to column form, that is 6 is to 8. So mo ni siya ang form in column form, then equals 3 is to 4. So balik ta sa means of extremes. So kanang 8 og 3 mo na ang means, ang 6 og 4 mo na ang extremes. Okay? Sige. Balik na ta diri sa alternation property. So ari na ta sa example number 2. 6 over 8 equals 3 over 3. Okay, so 6 over 8 equals 3 over 3. Ito lang, sayot ni siya. 6 over 8 equals 3 over 4 ni. Okay? 4 na siya. Sige, balik ta. Example, 6 over 8 equals 3 over 4. Or you're going to read that one as 6 is to 8 as 3 is to 4. Then, 6 is to 3 equals 8 is to 4. So, that is alternation property. So, ang naay interchange nga nahitabo sa coming from the original given nga proportion, which is 6 is to 8 as 3 is to 4. Sige. So, ang nabantayan nato diri no is nag-change ang 8 og 3. So, kanang 8 og 3 mao na ang means sa proportion. So, ang 3, which is the which is a numerator, no, in fraction form ka ang 3 numerator nabalin siya sa denominator sa pikas. So instead of 8 here na imong 3, then ang 8 instead nga na siya dire nabalin siya dire. Okay, but still they are proportionate to each other, or they are proportion. So that is what we call the alternation property. Nagka-interchange ang means or extremes. Okay, akong isuwat balik, 6 over 8 equals 3/4 or 3 over 4. Ganiya, nagka-interchange ang means. So ang means in fraction form, so starting from the left, lower left, then upper right, diagonally. So mo na ang means. So next is we're going to interchange na po natong extremes. So ang extremes kaning 6 o 4. So ang extremes, so starting from the upper left going to the lower right diagonally. Okay? So mo na ni siya. So ang 4 which is found here, ibali na to sa babaw, sa left. So may mo siyang 4 over 8 then equals 3 over, so ang 4 origin, ang 6 dirigikan ibali na to dire kay interchange man natong extremes. So that is 6. See, if you're going to multiply that one, ang ilang products are still 24, but it is in the alternation property of the proportion. So again, ang alternation property, ang means or the extremes may be interchange. Okay, dili pwede nga ang means interchange sa extremes or ang extremes i-interchange sa means. Kung sa means ka mag-interchange, sa means pod ka. Kung sa extremes, extremes pod ka. Okay? So, I have another example. Let's have 2/5 equals 4 over 10. Diba, if you're going to use the cross multiplication property, diba, ang answer niya is 20. So they are proportion to each other, or these two ratios are proportions. If you're going to use the alternation property, so arita sa means. So ang means na to kay 5 of 4. So ang 5 i-transfer na to dire, then ang 4 i-transfer na to dire. So that is what we call the interchange. So ang interchange niya is 2 over 4 or 2:4, then equals ang 5 na nadire nabalin naman. So this is 5 over 10. Then try to multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. 2 times 10 is also 20. So kuan gyapon, they are also proportionate to each other, or these two ratios are proportion. So mo na siya ang alternation property. Then number 3, inverse property. In a proportion, the ratios may be expressed as reciprocals. So inverse, so bali, no? So it focus on this one. Like for example, 6 over 8 equals 3 over 4, or 6:8 as 3:4. So naka-focus na siya diri nga part ug kani nga part kay inverse property man. Reciprocal means ang numerator denominator mag-interchange. Okay? Sige. Mo nang mo siyang 8 over 6, ang 6 nasa denominator, ang 8 nasa numerator, mo na 8 over 6. Then kanipod, ang 4 na nasa numerator, ang 3 na nasa denominator. Instead of 3/4 or 3 over 4, na mo siyang 4 over 3. But their products, if you're going to cross multiply, parehas ra. Kuan siya, 24 gyapon. So it is also proportion. So that is the inverse property. So another example, 20 over 30 equals 2 over 3. So if you're going to use the inverse property, So, imo ra i-reciprocal ang 20 over 3. So, ang 30 na nasa numerator, ang 20 na nasa denominator. So, instead of 20 over 30, na imo siyang 30 over 20. Then, equals ang 2/3. So, ang 3 sa numerator, ang 2 sa denominator. Kay, again, reciprocal. So, instead of 2/3 or 2 over 3, na imo siyang 3 over 2. Then, i-multiply, 20 times 3, 60. 30 times 2 is also 60. So, that is correct also. And that is the inverse property. Okay, next, let's have the addition property. In a proportion, the numerator may be changed using the properties of equality. So, for example, 6 is to 8 as 3 is to 4, or 6 over 8 equals 3 over 4. Then, 6 plus 8 over 8 equals 3 plus 4 over 4. So, 14 over 8 equals 7 over 4. So, as you have noticed, ang numerator na change, no? By using the properties of equality. 6 plus the denominator, which is 8. Then also, 3 plus the denominator, which is 4. 6 plus 8 is 14 over 8. Then 3 plus 4, that is 7, then over 4. So, ang bago na itong proportion is 14 over 8 equals 7 over 4. Or 14 is to 8 as 7 is to 4. Then, we're going to multiply that one to make sure kung kani ba siya proportion. So, 14 times 4. So, 16 carry 1, that is 56. Then also, 8 times 7, 56 food. So, therefore, they are proportion to each other. So, mo na siya tanan, akong gi-discuss, all about the addition property. So, let's have another example. Ngita ta dire, balik ta atong 2 is to 5 is to 4 is to 10. 2 is to 5 as 4 as to 4 is to 10. Sige. Or 2 over 5 equals 4 over 10. Then, using the addition property, so that is 2 plus the denominator, which is 5. Then, over 5. Then, equals 4 plus the the denominator, which is 10. Then, over 10. Then, 2 plus 5, 7 over 5 equals 4 plus 10, that is 14 over 10. Then, let's check kung proportion ba. 7 times 10, that is 70. 70 na siya. Then, kani 5 times 14, so that's 4, to siya multiply 3. 14 times 5, that's 0, 2, then 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2, 70. So, mura gyapon. So, 70. 7 times 10, 70. 5 times 14 is 70. So, correct. So, muna siya about the addition property. So, ang numerator ma-change using the properties of equality. Then, number 5 is the subtraction property. In a proportion, the numerator may be changed using the properties of equality, pero subtraction. So, ang example, so sayop ni siya, dapat naka-minus sign. Naka-minus sign ni siya. Sige, atong suwaton balik. If 6 over 8 equals 3 over 4, then 6 minus 8 over 8. Then equals 3 minus 4 over 8. Not over 8 day. Over 4. So, balik ko na ko If 6 over 8 equals 3 over 4, then this one, 6 minus 8 over 8 equals 3 minus 4 over 4. So, ma-change ang numerator using the properties of equality. So, subtraction property na ang gigamit. So, it's just the same as the addition property. 6 minus 8, that is negative 2 over 8. Then, equals 3 minus 4, that is negative 1 over 4. So if you're going to multiply, cross multiply, so that is negative 2 times 4, so that is negative 8. 8 times negative 1, that is also negative 8. So they are proportion to each other. Okay, so balik ta sa 2 over 5 or 2 is to 5, then equals 4 over 10 or 4 is to 10. So by using the subtraction property, so that is 2 minus the denominator, which is 5 over 5, then equals, then 4, then minus the denominator, which is 10 over 10. Then it becomes 2 minus 5, that is negative 3. Negative 3 over 5 equals 4 minus 10, so that is negative 6 over 10. If you're going to cross multiply, so kana siya negative 3 times 10, so that is negative 30. 5 times negative 6, that is also negative 30. So correct. So muna siya tanan ng explanation about the subtraction property. Cross products can also be used to find a missing term in a proportion. Cross multiplying allows us to get rid of the fractions in our equation. So out of the theorems of proportionality, ang kanang cross products ang pinaka-common nga gamiton to find the missing term in a proportion. So let's have some examples. Okay, so arita start sa letter A. X over 5 equals 24 over 30. Or if you're going to read that one in a proper way, okay, since we're talking about the proportion, that is X is to 5 as 24 is to 30. So the unknown value is the X. So we're going to find the value of X using the cross multiplication or the cross product nga method. So you can also use the cross products, no? But there is an example, gi-change ang x over 5 of 24 over 30 to colon form. Okay? So that is x is to 5 equals 24 is to 30. Then multiply the means, that is 5 times 24. Then ang extremes, x of 30. So that is 30 times x. Then 5 times 24, that is 120. Then 30 times x. So money 30 times x. Okay? Then also 120 equals 30x. Then interchange. So 30x equals 120, then x equals 4. So ang 30x equals 20 equals 120. I-divide both sides by 30. So 30 then over 30. So 120 ni siya ha. 20 na siya. Then muna nga ang x is equals 4. So 120 divided by 30. So cross cancel ding 0. Ang nabili nilang 12 over 3. So that is 4. So therefore the value of x which is 4. And therefore that is 4 is to 5 as 24 is to 30. Or in column form, that is erase na to. Sige, in column form, that is 4 is to 5 as 24 is to 30. So ano na siya? Muna siya complete proportion. This is the value of x which is 4. Muna yung complete proportion. So how do we use the cross multiplication? We can use also the cross multiplication. Parehara man sila pagyan eh. Okay? So kung mag cross multiply ka, it's just like this one. Parehara ni. So x times 30, then 5 times 24. So ana ra. So pareha gyapon, mura gyapon ang solution. Okay? That's it. So let's go now to the letter B. 4 is to 5 as x is to 30, or 4 over 5 equals x over 30. Then change that one to column form, that is 4 is to 5 equals x is to 30. Then multiply the means, which are 5 and x, so 5 times x. Then ang extremes, which are 4 and 30, so 4 times 30. So 5 times x is 5x, 4 times 30, 4 times 30, that is 120. Then divide both sides by 5. Then ang x is equals 24. Then letter C, 4 over x equals 24 over 30. So change again to column form, that is 4 is to x equals 24 is to 30. Then multiply the means, x times 24, multiply the extremes, 4 times 30. 24x equals 120, then divide both sides by 24. Okay, divide siya by 24. Then the value of x is 5. Then letter D, so 4 over 5 equals 24 over x. Change to column form, 4 is to 5 equals 24 is to x. Multiply the means, 5 times 24, multiply the extremes, 4 times x. Then 5 times 24, that is 120, 4 times x is 4x, interchange, 4x equals 120, then divide both sides by 4, divide both sides by 4, then the value of x, which is 30. So if you're going to use the cross multiplication again, kung mogamit mo og cross multiplication, is just the same naman po dire sa some parts of this solution. Like for example, kani 4 times 30, so nara dire ang solution. Then 5 times x, so ari ka nga solution mag-start. If you're going to cross multiply, so without using this one, so dire gyapon ka mag-proceed. Same as letter C, then letter D. Mura gyapon, no? So I will have the part 2 of this video lesson about gyapon sa proportion and fundamental theorems of proportionality. Okay? So stay tuned for the part 2 of the video lesson. Thank you and God bless.